Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Dominica's opposition loses one of its MPs over what he says is their refusal to put country before politics. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, April 4th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Sharon Coward. Good evening. An opposition legislator in Dominica has resigned from his party to sit as an independent MP in Parliament. Joseph Isaac on Wednesday announced he was severing ties with the main opposition United Workers' Party, the UWP. And he said it was because he's fed up with the party not looking beyond partisan politics. The parliamentary representative for the Roseau Central constituency was one of 6 successful UWP candidates in the 2014 general election. But in a prepared statement, he said he had unsuccessfully tried for a long time to persuade his party of the wisdom in moving from the traditional opposition approach to politics and adopting a more nationalistic approach in which the country comes first.
I've tried selling the idea to the leader, the executive, the general council of the party, but to no avail. I've also formally written to the leader of the party expressing my many concerns, including but not limited to my concern about the party-centered approach, and express my desire for a more nationalistic approach.
Isaac said that after much consideration, he had come to the conclusion that his party is diametrically opposed to this nationalistic philosophy. He said that as an independent legislator, he wanted to send a clear message of his intention to work with the government in the furtherance of its stated desire to build a more climate-resilient Dominica.
It is with a heavy heart, after much consultation with a number of my constituents and Dominicans in general, I have decided that at this stage, it will be better served in the interest of all concerned if I step away from the United Workers' Party and pursue the interests of Roseau Central and Dominica as an independent member of Parliament. Free at all times to speak and act in the interests of the people of Roseau Central and to adopt positions in respect of government policies based on merit of those policies.
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley now has a report on what led the Twin Island Republic's diplomat at the Organization of American States, the OAS, to be the only one not to support the waiver that hurricane-ravaged Dominica was seeking in paying its fees to the organization. But what that report contains has not yet been made public. A brief statement from the Office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday stated that Rowley received a full report of the details of the OAS mishap, but it gave no details. The Prime Minister had requested the report from the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dennis Moses, after Trinidad and Tobago's ambassador to the OAS, Anthony Philip Spencer, did not back Dominica's request on March 23rd. Instead of supporting a waiver of Dominica's estimated $20,000 annual contribution for the 2018 to 2019 period, Spencer recommended the deferral of payments. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs subsequently said that the position presented at the OAS was not aligned with the actions, policy, or orientation of Trinidad and Tobago towards Dominica. The Eastern Caribbean island is recovering from the destruction caused by the passage of Hurricane Maria on September 18 last year. Dominica's alternate representative to the hemispheric body, Judith Ann Roll, said post-disaster needs assessment concluded that Hurricane Maria resulted in total damages of $931 million and losses of $382 million. Still in Trinidad and Tobago, an opposition senator has asked Attorney General Faris Al-Wari to add a provision to the anti-gang legislation that would allow authorities to publicly identify and declare certain organizations as criminal gangs. Senator Saddam Hussein says that would make it easier for police to target and prosecute persons who publicly identify and associate with these groups. He said it would also serve as a deterrent for persons wanting to join such groups, since they could face the courts for associating with criminal gangs. Hussein made the suggestion as debate resumed in the legislation in the Senate on Tuesday.
He may, on the advice of the Commissioner of Police, by notice declare that specified group an organized criminal group for the purposes of this act. So what you're actually doing is now you're actually putting notice into the public of who the gangs are, so that they will now know not to associate themselves with these individuals. And this makes it much easier to prove gang membership, because once you can show that the police associates with this declared gang, then they commit an offense. So I would ask the Attorney General to look at that.
In Jamaica, the House of Representatives on Tuesday approved emergency powers regulations that govern operations of the state of public emergency in part of the parish of St. Catherine. A state of public emergency was declared in the St. Catherine North Police Division on March 18th. And while all members of the House who were present voted in favor of the regulations, there were questions about the composition of what is called the competent authority, as well as the power to have someone placed under house arrest. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips raised a concern about the authority acting as a composite, but Prime Minister Andrew Holness said it would not be practical.
The idea of competent authority as a composite, it could significantly restrict the authority vested in the individuals by law. In fact, you would run up into a conflict. Mr. Speaker, you could have a situation where the Commissioner of Police, who sees a clear and present danger, who is empowered by law to do something, for example, have a curfew declared or do some operational things to move the forces around, would be obliged by virtue of having this composite competent authority to, instead of acting immediately, would have to now wait on and consult. Mr. Speaker, that would not be practical given the nature of how a state of emergency operates.
The opposition leader also had other concerns, including that the emergency powers regulations are 4 decades old.
We would want there to be a general re-examination of the regulations. 40 years after the original ones were used, it's time for a re-examination. And two, we want to ensure, given the lessons learned, that ministerial power cannot be exercised outside of the security concerns which would arise in this instance.
Meantime, despite police reporting gun seizures and recording a decrease in crime in the areas under states of emergency, an opposition senator is adamant the measures are not really working. We get more in this TVJ News report.
Opposition Senator Damian Crawford says the efforts, although welcomed, are not adequately sufficient. He notes that while operations are being carried out, majority of the guns seized are outside of the state of emergency or ZOZO.
What is also incorrect is that it is working. Now, what is the working? We currently have turned off the pipe, but we haven't cut off the water. So you have a situation where, as I said, you have not removed the guns. Only 18 guns have been found. More guns have been found outside of the state of emergency than inside of the state of emergency. So therefore, we have not removed the variables that are causing criminal activity. The criminals have not been caught because only 61 persons have been arrested. Now, we know the turnover rate, maybe 20 will be convicted.
He, however, adds that the state of emergency has forced criminals to occupy other areas and create turmoil.
They move into communities that were not originally criminal communities and attract persons to their lifestyle, being that those persons are not used to that type of lifestyle and are in awe of that type of lifestyle. So we saw that happening, for example, when there was a target of Montego Bay for drugs. This is not the first time we have targeted areas. And that targeting of Montego Bay, we have seen now where Westmoreland, Hanover, those areas have become criminal areas that were not criminal areas before that.
He said that it is unfair to punish an entire community which has nothing to do with crime. Mr. Crawford suggested that targeting a community is not the solution against Jamaica's crime situation. He adds that focus should be placed on targeting the criminal by acting on intelligence.
So what I'd like to see, for example, that you go to a panel of 3 judges and you say, okay, Damian Crawford is an enemy of the state. And if so, the judge agree, then you target Damian Crawford. You then remove his rights. You remove the rights to bail. You remove the right to trial in front of a jury. It might be tried by judges only. You remove the right to having to face your accuser, where the person might be able to do a video. So you target that individual. Because what we have done is to seek those who hold the guns and not seek those who own the guns. And that is a problem, because they'll find new holders.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, predictions of more economic growth for St. Lucia. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Island just beyond the horizon, waiting for you to explore its deep treasures. Experience this and more at the Barbados Reggae Festival. 4 of the biggest reggae events, April 22nd to 29th, featuring the superstars of reggae, Maxi Priest, JC Lodge, Everton Blender, Johnny Osborne,
No ice cream sound,
Queen Ifrica, Ja Cure,
anytime you need a lover, call on me.
Anthony B, Taurus Riley,
But anytime you decide if you pack up your things and leave, don't come back.
Idonia,
Yeah.
and many more. Purchase your event tickets from ticketlinks.com. For more details, follow Barbados Reggae Festival on Facebook or Instagram. Barbados, always on.
Well, Facebook now claims to have 2 billion users. 2 billion users, or approximately 28% of the entire population of planet Earth, now has a Facebook account. Those are extraordinary numbers and certainly unprecedented in the history of the world that one entity has access to that much data on so many people. Everything that anyone has ever posted on Facebook is residing on some hard drive somewhere, regardless of whether the original poster deleted it or not.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet is predicting more economic growth for the island this year after reporting 2.5% for 2017. Delivering the $1.48 billion EC dollar budget to Parliament on Tuesday night, he said St. Lucia's economy has seen renewed investor, business and consumer confidence. Chastanet said his administration will focus on investing in people, upgrading infrastructure and public sector efficiency, and restructuring debt. He also sought to provide clarity on his plan to finance health care through national universal health insurance. He said that after consultation with health care professionals, the government hopes to be in a position to implement the health insurance plan before the end of this fiscal year.
My government is the view that a universal national health insurance scheme is the best way forward. And we are currently receiving technical assistance from Pan American Health Organization and the European Union in this regard. It is envisioned that both employers and employees will make mandatory contributions in much the same way they do with the national insurance scheme. I realize that the proposed changes to the way we finance health may result in some apprehension, but if we want as a people to have access to the very best health care we can afford as a country, then we must be accepting of change and resolute in our pursuit of excellence. In fact, Mr. Speaker, as a responsible government, we are duty-bound to provide the best health care we can for our citizens at the most affordable cost. And this is what we are setting out to achieve. We could have raised taxes to improve the quality of health care, but it still would not benefit those who could not afford it. we believe that the best option is to implement a national health insurance scheme that neither favors nor discriminates against any St. Lucian.
In Jamaica, patients at the Cornwall Regional Hospital are to be relocated amid concerns about air quality at the healthcare facility. The move comes after a number of doctors called in sick on Tuesday. They believe the poor air quality was responsible for the death of a Cuban doctor who worked at the hospital. We get the details in this TVJ News report.
Out at the Cornwall Regional Hospital on Tuesday by junior doctors after speculation that the recent death of a doctor who worked at the facility was caused by his exposure to harmful materials at the hospital. TVJ News understands that about 5 weeks ago, a Cuban doctor based at Cornwall Regional got sick. He returned home for treatment but died last week. The hospital has, however, dismissed speculations that the doctor died from air quality issues affecting the Type A health facility for more than a year.
The doctor was working with us for the past year. He got ill about 5 weeks ago, and he decided to return to Cuba to have treatment. I cannot give you any information about his diagnosis or what he was treated for, but we heard that he succumbed to his illness.
Despite the dismissal, other doctors are worried they could become ill from working in the sick building.
What we are seeing is a culmination of the frustration of members at the hospital now, and they have sought to, for want of a better word, impress upon the administration that, you know, they are frustrated to the point where they are not well.
Dr. Frey says senior doctors have been redeployed at the Cornwall Regional Hospital to ensure the sickout does not affect services at the facility. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton told me he was surprised by the action of the junior doctors. He said he met with the doctors and nurses at the hospital about 4 weeks ago to outline the renovation plans.
While I respect the rights of the doctors and patients to work in a comfortable environment under normal circumstances, the reality with Cornwall is that these are not normal circumstances. There's a lot of work that's going on there, and as a consequence, from time to time, there will be discomfort.
Dr. Frey says provisions are now being made to do a complete relocation of services offered in the main building.
I am hoping that this move will be done either this evening or early tomorrow morning. And at the same time, we have isolated a ward at the Falmouth Hospital that was not being used, and it was refurbished. And we're going to use it to house our surgical patients. Now, by the end of this week, I am hoping that all that service would be removed from the hospital so that our doctors and nurses can work in an environment that they are more comfortable.
Police in Haiti say 2 people are assisting in their investigations into the disappearance of photojournalist Vladimir Leganure, who has been missing since March 14th. The spokesperson for the National Police of Haiti said the journalist's mobile phone was found in the possession of the duo. He also indicated that human bones found on March 28th will be sent overseas for DNA analysis as police seek to determine whether they are the remains of the missing man. Leganure, who worked for the newspaper Le Matin and online news agency Loop Haiti before becoming a freelancer for local media and non-governmental groups, went missing after going on an assignment to report on the living conditions in Grand Ravine, one of the most violent areas in recent years. The Association of Caribbean Media Workers has called on the Haitian authorities to deploy all the necessary resources to shed light on the worrying disappearance, while the National Association of Haitian Media has expressed concern at the silence of police and judicial authorities. And ahead in Caribbean Newsline Sport, CARICOM not backing down from plans to restructure the governance of West Indies cricket. The details of that sporting development and more after the break. Stay with us.
The younger generation understands the threats to sea turtles because they're the next generation of environmental stewards. If we don't teach them young to be environmentally conscious, they won't be. They'll continue to throw plastic in the environment. They just won't do what's right for the animals out there.
Right. So what do you try to teach them?
Well, first thing in here, we do a program here called Rescue to Release. We actually rescue a sea turtle.
This search and rescue event is just a drill, but in the event that it is real, Tobago now has 28 emergency responders who are certified and well-trained in light-level urban search and rescue. This means that when buildings collapse and victims lie injured on the rubble, their lives can be saved due to the newly acquired skills of technicians.
And just transfer these ramekins onto a wire rack to cool to room temperature. Once they're at room temperature, you can pop them in the fridge until they're fully chilled by putting about 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar over the top of each creme brulee and swirl that around to coat the top evenly. So just start flaming the top and move in a circular motion. That way you're evenly browning the top rather than burning the sugar.
CARICOM is pressing ahead with plans to ensure the restructuring of the governance of West Indies cricket, undeterred by the International Cricket Council's request to have Cricket West Indies President Dave Cameron present at any meeting between the two bodies. Chairman of CARICOM's Cricket Subcommittee, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, said the proposed meeting with the ICC was intended to be an open discussion, and he expected that CWI would have a presence. Cricket's world governing body told CARICOM last week it was prepared to meet, but only with Cameron present since, quote, Cricket West Indies is our member, end quote. The Vincentian leader says he has no problem with Cameron being there. Gonsalves also restated CARICOM's position that good governance and transparency are paramount. He said, quote, what the CARICOM heads decided is that while we are not going to get involved in the management of West Indies cricket, it is a public good and it just can't just be managed by a private entity. It has to involve all the relevant stakeholders, and this is how it has to be structured, complying with all the best practices of good governance and transparency, end quote. CWI has fiercely resisted any overhaul since the 2015 CARICOM commissioned governance report called for the immediate dissolution of the West Indies Cricket Board and the appointment of an interim board. That report was authored by prominent regional academic and UWI Cave Hill principal Professor Eugene Barreto. Regional athletics heavyweights Jamaica wrapped up their campaign at the 47th Carifta Games with a medal haul of 82 in yet another domination of the region's premier track and field championship. The Jamaicans landed 44 gold, 27 silver and 11 bronze to top the standings and emphatically set themselves apart from their regional counterparts over the Easter weekend at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium. But as we hear in this report from TVJ's Jordan Fort, Jamaica's success did not come without challenges.
Coach Michelle Woolry returned a happy man following Jamaica's expected dominance at the three-day championships, but could not overlook the behavior of the Bahamian officials towards the Jamaican team.
It was difficult for us to really overcome the officials and the way how they operate. We don't use them officials operating in that unprofessional manner, but such is life.
The alleged unprofessional behavior also affected the allocation of medals, which Christopher Taylor listed as his only disappointment, having won the 200 meters while featuring on the sprint and mile relay winning teams.
Pleased with the 4x1 exhibit and also the 4x4. The only disappointment is that I did not get a medal for the 4x4 because they're saying that they ran out of medals, and it's Carifta. Why would they run out of medals? And it's my last Carifta, so I was hoping to come back to Jamaica with 3 gold medals, but it's a part of the game.
Outstanding sprinter Brianna Williams was no doubt the performer of the championships, becoming the first Jamaican to win the Austin Seeley Award since Johan Blake did so in 2007. Williams returned with 3 gold medals, having won the under-17 sprint double and being part of Jamaica's record-breaking sprint relay team. But despite her outstanding performances, Williams says she is aiming to be even better at this summer's World Under-20 Championships.
I'm gonna be coming back stronger, more confidence, better mentality, and I know I'll do better.
And Cheyenne Salmon followed up a superb ISA Boys and Girls Championships with another record-breaking performance in the 400-meter hurdles.
I'm very elated knowing that I had the champs record before, and this is my final year at Carifta and I broke the record.
Meanwhile, Coach Woolry is hoping the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, the J3As, will resolve the matter relating to the non-allocation of medals shortly so the athletes can receive their medals. It was the 34th straight time Jamaica were topping the medal table at the championships, having done so in every edition since 1984.
And host the Bahamas ended the Carifta Games with 35 medals. Kesley Johnson of ZNS Sports gives us a rundown on how the home team finished.
The Bahamas recorded its second best showing at the Carifta Track and Field Championship in 7 years. The second place finish and 35 medals won at the 47th edition of the meet, which was staged right here in the Bahamas, was an overall improvement. This according to the official medal charts posted from previously held meets. The only records that were not available were from the 2016 championship held in Grenada. In 2012, the Bahamas won 40 medals, an impressive 14 gold, 14 silver, and 12 bronze. At this year's showing, the 80-member team collected 6 gold, 14 silver, and 15 bronze. A number of personal best times and distances were also achieved by our local athletes. One in particular was the new Carifta record in the under-17 girls 400 meters set by Megan Moss. Moss was well on her way to pulling off the 1-2 punch, but was disqualified in the 200 meters on Monday night.
Meanwhile, Trinidad and Tobago slipped in their total medal haul to 17 this year at the Carifta Games. More in this C News report.
Team Trinidad and Tobago ended the Carifta Games over in the Bahamas with 17 medals in total, down from last year's 22, but the team was smaller and lacked experienced campaigners in the different age groups. But that didn't stop TNT from a 4th gold medal won by javelin specialist Talena Murray in the girls under 20 category with a best of 45.54 meters. Her teammate, seen here, Kimoy Nori, won bronze with a good 41.80 meter effort. Another strong showing for TNT came in the boys under 20 shot put, where Odell Jacobs finished 2nd overall for another silver medal. Also cupping silver was sprinter Shaniqua Bascom, who had her hands full in the girls under 17 200 meters. No one was going to catch the speedy Jamaican Brianna Williams, who is coached by TNT's Atto Bolden, who did the sprint double. But Bascom took care of the rest to cross in 23.75 seconds behind Williams' 23.11. Another silver for TNT came in the boys' long jump, where Joseph accredited himself well with a 6.89 meter effort to finish behind Jordan Turner of Jamaica. TNT ended up with 4 gold medals, 6 silver and 7 bronze.
The only other country to reach double figures was Barbados, who clinched 13, 3 gold, 5 silver and 5 bronze. St. Vincent and the Grenadines finished 5th on the table with 2 gold medals, while Guyana placed 8th with 9 medals. The Cayman Islands sat in the 7th position after capturing 1 gold, 3 silver and 1 bronze. The Turks and Caicos Islands, Martinique and St. Kitts and Nevis went away with 4 medals each for the 9th, 10th and 11th place respectively. Grenada picked up 1 silver medal and 13th on the table, while Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda grabbed 2 medals each. Bermuda went away with a lone bronze medal, while Belize, Haiti, Montserrat, St. Lucia and Suriname finished this year's Carifta Games without medaling. And that's the sport. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
There's an island just beyond the horizon, waiting for you to explore its deep treasures. Experience this and more at the Barbados Reggae Festival. 4 of the biggest reggae events, April 22nd to 29th, featuring the superstars of reggae, Maxi Priest, JC Lodge, Everton Blender, Johnny Osborne,
No ice cream sound,
Queen Ifrica, Ja Cure,
anytime you need a lover, call on me.
Anthony B, Taurus Riley.
But anytime you decide if you pack up your things and leave, don't come back.
Idonia,
Yeah.
and many more. Purchase your event tickets from ticketlinks.com. For more details, follow Barbados Reggae Festival on Facebook or Instagram. Barbados, always on.
The top stories as we leave you. An opposition legislator in Dominica resigns over his party putting politics before country. And in sport, CARICOM not backing down from plans to restructure the governance of West Indies cricket. That's Caribbean Newsline. For more news and sports around the clock, log on to cornernews.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll be here again tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Good night.